We'll start here as soon as everybody can find a seat. And I think we're there. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Richards. I'm a trustee of the university. And on behalf of Danny Wegman, our chairman, and all of the trustees, a number of whom are here today, I'd like to welcome you wherever you may be in the building listening to this presentation. I think you're going to have a special evening. At a time of sorrow and some concern in our nation, the Garden Party remains a cherished, positive tradition to report on the progress of the university and its remarkable supporters who are here. As the Malaria Challenge is over now, or coming to a soon conclusion, I want to personally thank you all. It has been the biggest fundraising campaign in this university's history and a tremendous success. And we appreciate all that you've done to make that true. Now, like many of you, I've witnessed a significant change and challenge in this community, and I've tried to contribute what I can to make the best of it. But let me tell you, part of the best of it is the remarkable ascendancy of this university and its medical center. It's been crucial to our community, and the timing couldn't have been better. I believe that you will leave here tonight proud of this university, justifiably proud. And it doesn't happen without a lot of hard work and some brilliant work by literally thousands of people who work for the university. And of course, supporters like you. It also doesn't happen without great leadership. And that's exactly what we've had in the 10th president of this university. And so it's my great pleasure to welcome the president, Joel Seligman.
Tom, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Tom, thank you. And you know, it's hard to think of many people who've left as indelible a mark on the city of Rochester as Tom Richards, our former mayor, the leader of RG&E, the leader of the law firm, the wonderful law firm, Nixon Peabody, a man who's been chair of our medical center board and who's been a member of our university board for a remarkable period of time and just made wonderful contributions. Could you join me in a big round of applause for Tom? The terrible tragedy in Orlando just ago has touched all of us. On behalf of the University of Rochester, yesterday I extended heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of the victims of the mass shooting in Orlando. There's no justification for violence of this kind, whether based on sexual orientation, gender, identity, or any other cause. Let me ask for a moment of silence to remember those who so needlessly lost their lives, and with the hope that mutual respect, mutual trust, and human decency increasingly will prevail in our country. For the university, this has been an extraordinary year. In December 2015, the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council Upstate Revitalization Initiative was awarded $500 million, effectively culminating 5 years of service by Danny and Wegman and me as co-chairs of the council. The Upstate Revitalization Initiative was intended to support industry clusters in optics, photonics, and imaging, agriculture and food production, next-generation manufacturing, and technology, as well as key Rochester projects such as Eastman Business Park and the Downtown Innovation Zone, and university priorities such as data science, the laser lab, and the medical center's neural restoration initiative. Subsequently, the Sibley Building, the largest building in Monroe County with more than 1 million square feet, including the university high-tech incubator was awarded more than $40 million in federal tax credits, bringing its total funding to $110 million of an ultimate budget of $200 million. Yesterday, there was a bricklaying ceremony for the renamed Sibley Square. Downtown Rochester is coming back. Construction on Wegmans Hall and the new Hagem Science and Engineering Quadrangle began last summer. Wegmans Hall will be 58,000 square feet, a 4-story home to the Gergen Institute for Data Science that will be dedicated at the October 2016 Meliora weekend and open for business in 2017. This past summer, we began renovations on the Frederick Douglass building to provide improved dining facilities, more space for student organizations, and the home for the Paul J. Burgett Intercultural Center. We anticipate that Douglass Hall will welcome students when they return in just a few months in August 2016. We also broke ground this past summer on a new 90,000 square foot state-of-the-art building for imaging sciences and complex pediatric care on East River Road to provide the region's first outpatient interventional radiology clinic and the region's first standalone clinic for the integrated care of autism, the William and Mildred Levine Autism Clinic, and oh yes, 400 new parking spaces. And within the last few days, the university committed to a construction schedule for a new residence hall overlooking our Brian F. Prince Athletic Complex. The new hall will open in time for the academic year that begins in fall 2017, house 151 first-year students, and provide space for academic, athletic, and student life. Notably, it will overlook our football stadium, providing the University of Rochester perhaps the finest skyboxes in all of college football today. Which is not bad for Division III. On July 1, the university, acting through the Warner School, officially became the educational partnership organization of East High School. And on September 8th, the first East High students under the University of Rochester East High Partnership arrived. In April, the Eastman School of Music announced that in just a few months, in November, Renée Fleming will perform a new composition by Eastman alumnus and Pulitzer Prize-winning composer Kevin Putz at Alice Tully Hall as part of the Eastman Philharmonic's return to New York City for the first time in more than 25 years. And in September, showing that we have confidence in our alumni, Eastman School announced that Renée Fleming has been appointed as a distinguished visiting artist on an ongoing basis. In April, we announced the lineup for our most star-studded Meliora celebration in our history, featuring Ken Burns, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, Tony Bennett, Ben Folds, and Trevor Noah. And you all have to come. This is in October. We had 10,000 people here for both Clintons at separate times. My guess is with this lineup, we may do even better. So welcome. I can't promise shrimp. I'll promise everything else. In May, we announced that the Eastman School of Music has formed an alliance with the Gateways Music Festival, which features more than 100 musicians of African descent from around the nation under the artistic directorship of Lee Kuntz. Gateways, which has worked with Eastman on biennial festivals since 1995, will soon begin presenting an annual 6-day festival. It was a year of outstanding faculty appointments. Let me just mention a few. John Foxe, a nationally recognized scientist in neurobiology, began on October 1st, 2015, as research director at the Del Monte Neuromedicine Institute, as well as Claire and Killian J. and Carolyn F. Schmidt, professor of neuroscience. Nuriana Kachalakota, who until early 2016 was the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, was appointed as the inaugural Lionel W. McKinsey Professor of Economics. In October, Lynn McQuat, the J. Lowell Orbison Distinguished Service Alumni Professor, was the recipient of the prestigious 2015 Canada Gertner Award for her research in RNA biology. More than a quarter of earlier Gertner Award recipients have subsequently won the Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine. David Williams, the William J. Allen Professor of Medical Optics, received the 2015 William Proctor Prize for Scientific Achievement, an award earlier bestowed upon Jane Goodall, Vannevar Bush, Margaret Mead, and Murray Gell-Mann. Eastman alumna Maria Schneider won 2 Grammy Awards for her album The Thompson Fields and for her work on David Bowie's Sue. There were many, many other Eastman Award winners this year, including Paul Odette, who received a Grammy for Best Opera Recording. Eastman alum Bob Ludwig won for Best Engineered Non-Classical Album. Eastman Assistant Professor Nathan Laub was performer on an album selected as the Best Classical Compendium. And alum Charles Halloran was featured in a recording that won for Best Regional Roots Music for the album Go-Go Juice. Jintian Li, a 2012 graduate, was chosen to be part of the inaugural class of Schwarzman Scholars. This is a program modeled on the Rhodes Scholarships designed to create a one-year master's program at Tsinghua in Beijing beginning in August 2016. As Tom intimated, we are in the very last 16 days of our capital campaign. We've raised more than $1.35 billion in the Meliora Challenge. The consequences of the success are far-reaching. We've created 101 new endowed professorships, nearly doubling the 107 we created in the first 155 years of our university. The campaign has provided $222 million in additional student support. It has galvanized lead gift support for $857 million of new or renovated facilities, including the Golisano Children's Hospital, Retner Hall, LaChase Hall, Eastman Theater, the Wilmot Cancer Institute, the Saunders Research Building, the Prince Athletic Complex, Gergen Hall, and Wegmans Hall. Coordinate with these projects has been the construction of College Town, Brooks Crossing, and the Interstate 390 Interstate Exchange. All of this has helped us grow, and today the University of Rochester is the largest private employer in upstate New York and the 6th largest private employer in New York State, with 28,617 total employees. In the last year alone, we added 1,796 employees. We're directly or indirectly responsible for supporting an estimated 56,300 jobs, and we are going to continue to grow. We're one of the nation's leading research institutions. Last year, with some $380 million in total sponsored research awards. So it's been a very good year in many respects. And it was climaxed for those of us who participate in the university board activities with the transition of a great board chair, Ed Hajim, who stepped down at our May board meeting, who has been succeeded by Danny Wegman. And Danny, many of you know from Wegmans and its remarkable achievements in our community, and now indeed up and down the Eastern Shore, has been a university trustee for more than 15 years. Now, what I want to address today is the future of Rochester. And few topics are of greater significance to our university and our city than the future of our own city. Throughout our 166 years, the University of Rochester has been committed to the success of the greater Rochester community. Our futures are inextricably linked. Join me in envisioning the Rochester of which we dream 10 years from now. We imagine a city of optimism and hope, with its population growing, a revitalized downtown, including substantially expanded residential real estate, retail, and increased job growth, led by Rochester's Innovation Zone. Our recent graduates and young professionals increasingly will be staying in Rochester. Embrace yourself. We'll be cool. We'll be fun. Catalytic steps forward, in effect, have already been announced. The $500 million Upstate Revitalization Initiative, the AIM Photonics Consortium. These are very important building blocks. In 10 years, Eastman Business Park will have been transformed from its near-death experience a few years ago into an international hub of technological innovation in fields such as alternative energy, food production, advanced manufacturing, and next-generation technologies. Underlying this progress will be one of the nation's most successful efforts to address severe poverty and our city's failing K-12 system. City neighborhoods plagued by poverty and crime will be transformed through the coordination of social services, revitalized public schools, youth programs, and new business activity. Rochester's future will be highlighted by sustained effort at job creation, not just in our suburbs, but in the city's core. This will not happen by accident and will require a high degree of coordination among the state, city, county, with new and existing industry, academic institutions, and social services. And job creation in Rochester will be notable for its completeness. We will increase economic success for all who live in our city at every level of education and experience. This future can happen. It won't be easy. It's not guaranteed. But for the first time in decades, there is well-grounded cause for optimism about where our city, and indeed our region, are heading. The greater Rochester metropolitan area added 25,000 jobs in the last 5 years. Unemployment today stands at 4.7%, the lowest rate in 8 years. New companies are beginning to relocate to our region, and existing companies are expanding. How do we make this future a reality? In order to understand where we are going, let's understand how we came to our current state. For much of the 20th century, Rochester was one of the nation's major manufacturing hubs. With a population of 324,975 in 1940, Rochester was the 23rd largest city in the United States. Proud home to Eastman Kodak, Bausch & Lomb, and Western Union, companies whose products and services were known throughout the world. The 1930s and 40s represented a high water mark of the city's population. Rochester's decline began in the 1960s, when our population began to shift from the city to the suburbs. Despite those trends, companies continued to invest in Rochester well into the 1970s with the construction of such projects as Midtown Plaza, Xerox Tower, and Chase Tower. Rochester's leading employers continue to thrive, with employment at Kodak reaching 60,400 in 1982. But the subsequent decline of our manufacturing took an enormous toll. For a sustained period, we've experienced what has felt like an incessant economic decay. Today, the city's population is 210,000, placing Rochester outside the 100 largest cities in the nation. Cortex employment is now approximately 2,000 in Rochester. The economic and social consequences for many of the residents of Rochester have been devastating. Rochester now has one of the highest poverty rates in the nation and some of the worst performing schools in the state. These conditions in the city of Rochester stand in stark contrast to the economic vitality of Rochester's suburbs and much of the Finger Lakes region. Ours truly is a tale of two cities, a decaying urban core marked by poverty, failing schools, and crumbling neighborhoods, surrounded by flourishing suburban communities with growing economic opportunity and some of the best public and private schools in the country. Rochester, and indeed our region, now have reached a decisive moment in our history. The region has come together in ways that are unprecedented, with public, private, and community groups working more effectively in concert than during any recent time. The region's success in the Upstate Revitalization Initiative and in the Rochester-Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative are strong evidence of this unprecedented cooperation. The Regional Economic Development Council Initiative and the AIM Photonics are emblematic of potentially as much as $7 billion in public and private investment that will be made in our region over the next 5 years. These investments can accelerate the city and the region's transformation to a diversified 21st century knowledge-based economy. We today, in fact, possess a strong foundation for future economic growth. A culture of entrepreneurship dating back to George Eastman, Joseph Wilson, and Hiram Sibley. Today, that ethos is continued by persons like Tom Golisano, Danny Wegman, Richard and Robert Sands, and countless other individuals who are building new companies, both large and small. National leadership in key areas of future economic growth, such as optics, photonics, and imaging, food production, advanced manufacturing, biotechnology, and energy storage and innovation. A pipeline of technological innovation led by research at the University of Rochester and RIT is measured by patents issued per capita, patent royalties, and sponsored research. And one of the most highly skilled workforces in the nation, evidenced by per capita degrees in engineering, science, and technology. But progress is not assured. The city of Rochester faces three fundamental challenges that must be effectively addressed to ensure our transformation. First, revitalizing Rochester's economy. Second, fixing a broken K-12 public education system. And third, substantially reducing urban poverty. Let me focus on each in turn. First, revitalizing Rochester's economy. Monroe County and the Finger Lakes region will not fully succeed without a vibrant urban core. We have begun to make progress in our region. We have far to go in the city of Rochester. After decades of neglect and the flight of residents and businesses to the suburbs, downtown Rochester is starting to come back. More than $840 million in real estate development is now underway or planned in downtown Rochester, including the Sibley Building, which I mentioned before, the largest building in Monroe County, located at the heart of Main Street, which is where the revitalization of Rochester must begin. The building ultimately will include office, mixed-income residential, and retail space. It will be home to the University of Rochester's High-Tech Rochester and new downtown incubator and RIT startup and business incubation activities. Tower 280 is completing a $59 million restoration that will convert the former Midtown Plaza into 179 residential units, 2 floors of office space, and ground floor retail space. The first residents began arriving earlier this year, and Bergman Associates recently announced it will lease the 55,000 square foot second floor. The Metropolitan, formerly Chase Tower, is undergoing a $35 million conversion to 140 residential units, along with retail and office space, with the first tenants scheduled to arrive in the spring. The former Rochester Savings Bank building has been converted to house RIT's Center for Urban Entrepreneurship. The 47,000 square foot facility includes incubation activities and startup companies and began operation a few years ago. Monroe Community College is creating a $72 million downtown campus in the Kodak building on State Street, which will open by the fall of 2017. And the conversion of a portion of the inner loop from a vehicular thoroughfare to usable land will reconnect downtown to the East End and create 6 acres of developable land in the heart of our city. As a consequence of these and other projects, the residential population of downtown Rochester has doubled to 6,000 since 2000 and is expected to exceed 10,000 individuals within just a few years. This is a good start, but with close to 50,000 people working in downtown and a millennial generation increasingly preferring urban neighborhoods where they can live, work, and play, there is opportunity for much more downtown residential growth. These trends will be accelerated as more retail, more restaurants, and more entertainment locates downtown. The new incubators at or near the Sibley Building and the existing concentration of 100 companies classified as creative class or innovative inspired envisioning the Rochester Downtown Innovation Zone, a key initiative in our successful Upstate Revitalization Initiative plan. The concept behind the Innovation Zone involves creating a compressed geographic area where inventors, entrepreneurs, and small business owners can build relationships with researchers, experienced business owners, and venture capitalists and create new businesses that will grow and prosper. Cities like Los Angeles, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh are models for Rochester. These cities highlight a common set of conditions that help spur job creation within the urban core, including improved safety and security, incentivizing and attracting further commercial and retail activity, and improving common neighborhood infrastructure. These examples also point to the need to concentrate revitalization efforts in a narrowly focused geographic and industry area, and later expand from there. The Cortex Innovation Community in St. Louis, a bioscience and technology innovation district, for example, is the result of a focused and carefully managed effort over more than 15 years to attract new businesses and large anchor tenants, and it's today succeeding. The Downtown Innovation Zone indeed is one of 2 major economic hubs for future growth in Rochester. The other is Eastman Business Park. The revitalization of the park is an example of how our community can build upon the legacy and assets of our industrial past and repurpose them for future economic growth. The vision for the park is clear. During the next 10 years, Eastman Business Park will become one of the nation's premier locations for technological innovation and business creation. The Regional Economic Development Council designated the park as the region's top priority for each of the past 5 years. And during these 5 years, New York State committed $100 million to the park's redevelopment and to support companies locating there. These efforts are succeeding. The park is now home to 62 companies with approximately 4,500 employees. The majority are not Eastman Kodak employees, and the number of both Kodak and non-Kodak employees is growing and will continue to grow. For the city to fully succeed also is essential that we connect more residents with training programs that will provide our residents with the skills necessary to obtain employment and succeed. This will not only enable more people to start a career, support their families, and lift themselves out of poverty, but it will provide businesses with the talents they need to grow. For Rochester, job creation is not enough. We also need jobs that Rochester residents can fill. If we are successful, these efforts could provide our region with an immediate economic return. A 2014 survey estimated there were 26,000 unfilled jobs in our region, primarily because employers could not find workers with the necessary skills and training. This number will expand as more companies are attracted to Rochester in fields like photonics and advanced manufacturing. Working with high school students, the city schools and local employers, Hillside Work Scholarship Connection, for example, has achieved great success in Rochester. 93% of the cities in Hillside are employed with job partners and go on to graduate from high school. This program works and should be expanded. Monroe Community College is a national leader in the field of workforce development. 2 years ago, Vice President Joe Biden visited Rochester to showcase and celebrate the success of MCC's Applied Technologies Center, which trains individuals in a wide range of industrial skills. And MCC is now establishing an industrial training center in Eastman Business Park that will work directly with the growing number of employers there. A significantly more daunting challenge is the revitalization of the city's most impoverished neighborhoods. While some of the city's neighborhoods have undergone a renaissance in recent years, large areas in our city have experienced substantial decline. These neighborhoods are punctuated with abandoned homes and storefronts, crumbling infrastructure, high crime rates, poor public transportation, failing schools, a lack of youth services, and concentrated poverties. We should all feel a shared responsibility to support efforts to strengthen our inner city. Ultimately, a region is no stronger than its most struggling area. But progress in Rochester should be led by those who live in Rochester. Many of us feel empathy, want to offer support, feel we share the same objectives. This is to the good, but not all of us fully understand or feel what it means to be poor, discriminated against because of the color of your skin, or live in fear. Progress in Rochester will depend on a conversation involving all of us, and essential voices are from people who live and work in Rochester. Mayor Warren and the Rochester-Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative have proposed focusing initially on the Market View Heights, Beechwood, and Emmer neighborhoods, and have formed a nonprofit corporation called Connected Communities to manage revitalization efforts. The U of R is a member of this organization and has direct interest in this project with university initiatives at East High and UR Medicine's Culver Road Medical Group. Job creation, however, itself is not enough. Employers also must have the ability to perform effectively in 21st century jobs. And so our second great challenge in the city is our K-12 education system. The Rochester City School District is the lowest performing school district in upstate New York and has the lowest graduation rate among large city school districts in the state. While 45.5% of seniors in Rochester graduated in 2015, only, for example, 33% graduated from East High School. City schools like East are plagued with high rates of absenteeism and disciplinary problems. The result is that Rochester students are trapped in a system that does not prepare them for college or a job and robs them of the future they deserve. We know that shortfalls in education lead to lower earnings, poorer health, and higher rates of incarceration. Improving skill school performance is a fundamental economic development issue. A 2009 McKinsey study, for example, showed that eliminating the achievement gap between Black and Latino school performance and those of white students could increase the United States gross domestic product by up to $525 billion. Now, Rochester is not the only city with struggling schools. It's informative to look at the experience of a few other communities. Massachusetts, for example, has been a national leader in the charter public school movement since the 1980s. A 2009 study shows that charter schools in that state consistently outperform their counterparts in traditional district schools on the Massachusetts Comprehensive Assessment System and in graduation rates in the city of Boston. The study also showed that charter schools effectively targeted underserved communities. Enrollment in these schools consisted of 49% African American and 46% low-income students. And the study credited the charter schools with increasing African American study performance. The most prominent K-12 reform effort has occurred in New York City under Mayor Michael Bloomberg and Chancellor of the New York City Department of Education, Joel Klein. New York City underwent a massive restructuring of its school system, including centralizing the management structure, implementing a citywide curriculum, and investing in professional development for teachers. These reforms also gave principals more control over their schools and fostered innovation. Some of the changes were controversial. The results are impressive. In 7 years, the passing rate of fourth graders taking the state math test rose from 53 to 80%, and the high school graduation rates increased from 45 to 62%, even in the face of more stringent graduation requirements. These experiences provide some context as to what the University of Rochester is attempting to achieve at East High School. With the support of the Rochester City School Board, the State Education Department, 4 unions, and the teachers and parents of East, we are now operating under a special statute called an Education Partnership Organization. We're the equivalent to the superintendent. We began this past September implementing a transformative plan. East High School was separated into 2 schools, a lower school consisting of grades 6 to 8 and an upper school. School days were extended to 7.5 hours, with students in grades 6 to 9 receiving increased instruction in math and literacy. Students were organized into family groups of 10 students who meet directly with faculty, staff, or administrative mentors. Career and technical education programs were expanded in partnership with local employers. Over time, the student population at East will be reduced from 1,600 to approximately 1,200 students, with future admissions being made by student choice with priority given to students living in closest proximity to East High School. Our aspiration is to increase graduation rates above 80% for all students at East High School. Under the leadership of our East High School Superintendent, Shaun Nelms, we are already seeing progress. Attendance rates are rising, suspensions are down by 72%, and we've begun to see early signs of academic improved performance. But progress will require a sustained commitment of resources as well as considerable humility. We are listening to the faculty, students, and parents at East and are making adjustments to provide the most successful education we can at that high school. We believe that at the end of the day, the UR East High School initiative may serve as a model for revitalizing schools in Rochester and perhaps across the nation. While East High School is a start, the problem of the city's entire public school system are more complex. Ultimately, we will need to help restructure the manner in which we educate all of the city's children. There's no single right system of providing K-12 education, whether it be traditional public schools, charter schools, or private or parochial schools. Each of these approaches has successes, each also has failures. We need to find a means to develop a Rochester approach to build a hybrid system that will incorporate the strengths of all of our existing types of schools into a coherent system. This does not mean an attack on teachers or unions, but it does mean renegotiating fundamentally different labor contracts, best aligned with the interest of providing effective education for all of the city's school children. It also means empowering local school principals and local parents to identify the most important needs of their students and children. We're making progress at East High School by honestly identifying key deficits in learning, such as a substantial number of ninth graders currently reading at second or third grade levels. We have to be honest that not all students seek an advanced college degree. We have to recognize the severe price that students in Rochester pay because of poverty, urban trauma, and that the challenge for many Rochester City School students of English not being their first language. These are hard problems where progress can be made if we recognize the challenges involved and galvanize the resources to address them. Above all else, we must recognize that the teachers and staff of schools such as East High School are heroes who deserve our support and gratitude. Recently, the university announced the creation of the Center for Urban Education Success, which will address challenges in K-12 urban schools in Rochester and beyond. The goal is to expand opportunities to apply quality-based solutions at East and to leverage the knowledge gained there to have greater focus on the revitalization of K-12 urban education throughout our city and indeed beyond. The new center is led by Sandy Parker, former president and CEO of the Rochester Business Alliance, Professor Steve Eubing, who was the coordinator of our very successful East High School submission and plan, and Warner School Dean Raffaella Barassi. Now let me turn to our third great challenge. Rochester is a city of severe and concentrated poverty. The data are sobering. Rochester leads the nation in high schools, in households subsisting on half of the federal poverty level. Second only to Detroit, Rochester leads in child poverty, with half of all children impoverished and nearly 2/3 receiving public assistance. In many areas, poverty is deeply entrenched. In the arc of neighborhoods along the city's northern border, known as the Crescent, the median income is less than half of the metropolitan area. Last year at the governor's initiative, the Rochester-Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative, or RMAPI, was formed. It's currently co-chaired by Mayor Lovely Warren, Assembly Majority Leader Joe Morelli, and Monroe County Executive Cheryl Dinolfo. It was convened by the United Way, and it's composed of more than 100 individuals representing Rochester, schools, higher education, community, and nonprofit organizations, healthcare, the business community, faith organizations, local government, and members of the community. Dr. Leonard Brock, who grew up in one of Rochester's most impoverished neighborhoods, is the director of RMAPI. RMAPI has an ambitious goal: reduce poverty by 50% in the city of Rochester over the next 15 years. In September 2015, RMAPI released its initial progress report, A Roadmap for Change. The report identified 3 common themes: the need to invest in and create stronger communities, the need to have difficult conversations about the role that structural racism plays in denying people opportunity, the need to understand and address the impact that trauma has on the lives of the poor. RMAPI represents a courageous beginning. We have very far to go. The success of its anti-poverty efforts will require a close coordination with economic development efforts. The Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council designated $100 million of the region's $500 million in Upstate Revitalization Initiative funds to anti-poverty and workforce development projects. Our council alone, among the 7 competitive councils, made poverty reduction a core objective. Last year, the City of Rochester partnered with IBM and its Smarter Cities Challenge to help design a unified and efficient strategy to lift more families out of poverty. This is a critical imperative. If we do not succeed in reducing the number of people living in poverty, we ultimately could have more people living in poverty in Rochester than in our workforce. The IBM report, released in January of this year, is informative in identifying the key challenges and opportunities that the city and Ramapi must face. The system of services that support the poor is fragmented. We must address barriers that prevent the sharing of data among organizations to improve coordination. As currently designed, service programs tend to be reactive and not proactive. And finally, we must tap into the unrealized potential of our neighborhoods and communities. Tapping into this unrealized potential is fundamental to what we are striving to achieve for Rochester. The people who live in our communities possess the talent, the ideas, and the determination to create a brighter future for themselves and their families if part of a unified community effort. Make no mistake, overcoming the City of Rochester's challenges will require leadership and resources from our business leaders, our elected officials, university and college leaders, faculty, and from the state and from our governor. It will also require the commitment, ingenuity, and hard work of those who've been the victims of history, geography, apathy, racism, demography, and economic trends beyond their control to lift their own communities out of poverty and seek a better education for the children. The challenges that our community faces are massive and will require that we work unrelentingly to overcome them. But the level of collaboration we've witnessed over the last few years, whether it be the greater than 450 stakeholders and work group members of the Finger Lake Regional Economic Development Council, or the hundreds of members of the community who have rallied behind Ramapi, shows that we know how to be united and that we are determined to let this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity fail us. United, we can succeed if each of us, including those of us here tonight, join in working to strengthen Rochester. Our future can be transformed, but our future also must be earned. This will occur only if we listen to each other and work together as one community. As the president of the University of Rochester, I pledge the continued commitment of this university to help make Rochester the city of which we all dream. Success in urban revitalization will involve more than dreams. The plans of the Regional Economic Development Council were developed in partnership with the state of New York, the city of Rochester, Monroe County, and city and county leaders throughout our region, as well as business, labor, and labor leaders. If this partnership continues to work together, we will not fail. The future of Rochester will be an inspiring one, based upon our talent, our determination, our spirit of innovation. But success requires all partners to remain fully committed to our future. I am hopeful that this will occur. Our university has rolled up its sleeves and has already gone to work. Ladies and gentlemen, in concluding, I have to observe, I've spoken before you on 11 times, and this was undoubtedly the most serious speech I gave. It's worth it. We have the chance to revitalize Rochester. We have the chance as one community to create a city that will be as great as Rochester ever was in the past. And now, for the 662 of you in this and the other room, I conclude with the very good news that there are 1,500 shrimp awaiting you. Thank you for listening to me.